Well, thank you so much. I think I'm here to remind you that there are black people in the world that speak with a British accent. And I'm very, very grateful to get the opportunity to come back to this wonderful island that is Bermuda. So I thank Kim Wilson, my dear friend, for extending this invitation and for her kind introduction, and I'm very pleased that she wasn't making that introduction at the Labour Party conference in London. I'm hugely grateful to Marita Thompson. You have the most amazing banqueting chairman, the chairperson. And I have delighted in conversation with your wonderful Premier, hugely articulate and a fearsome mind, I can tell. Paula Cox, thank you so much. Thank you. I arrived here 2 days ago, and I stepped off the plane, and I need to tell you that I looked a lot more like Denzel Washington than Forrest Whitaker. The food in Bermuda has been very good indeed, and tonight has been no exception. It's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I first came to Bermuda in 1991 when Kim and I were at law school. I came back again in 1997. You will recall, this room will recall, that lots of people were predicting doom and gloom should the Progressive Labour Party come to pass. So I thought I'd better dash back. So I came back in 97, and it has taken me this long to get back to Bermuda. But it is wonderful to be here and wonderful to see what you have achieved in government. And so I come from the British Labour Party in solidarity and praise for all that you have achieved. When I first came here, was barely 20. I was a young man who had grown up in Tottenham in North London. Tottenham is most definitely identifiable as an area where many West Indians have made their home, arriving in that Windrush generation after the Second World War. I was raised largely by a single mother, and it wasn't easy growing up in harsh times, really, during the 1970s and 80s. You will recall race riots and quite a lot of strife back in Britain's inner city areas, and that possibility of aspiring and looking beyond what is in front of you was not always easy. Can I get to university? Can I become a lawyer? Can I get to Harvard? Can I become a member of Parliament when there aren't really other members of Parliament that look like me? And one makes so many friends along those journeys, and they inform you and they feed your soul. And I just want to say that Kim Wilson is one of those people. And actually, coming here to Bermuda at that tender age, I saw a group of people that looked like me, aspiring, achieving, ambitious, and that was formative. And it is one of the reasons why I stand here today, sadly approaching 40. But thank you very much, Bermuda. And so here I am, and I am now just a humble backbench member of Parliament in the UK Parliament. And it is great to come and hang out with my own crowd who are in government. We lost the election. After 13 years, the British Labour Party sadly were defeated. We lost many votes in southern England. And you know, the tide that saw us leave power is a tide that continued to sweep across much of Europe. Progressives in Sweden, coming down to their worst election since 1911. Progressives in France, kept out by Nicolas Sarkozy and Chirac before him. Progressives in Germany, their worst defeat since the beginning of the Federal Republic. These are tough times, and in tough times, it is always tempted to turn to the right. And so my message in what I suspect is an election period is, Bermuda, don't make that mistake. Look at the summer of unrest in Britain. Think about the important choices that lie ahead of you, and don't make that mistake. But also, on reflecting why we lost power, we come back to very basic, simple ideas. You see, most of the electorate look at us as politicians and political parties, and their basic kind of phrase or tone is, now what? Change. And it is hugely important that progressives and those in the Labour family never allow the others to own change. You must be the change agents. And this is a party that has always been for change and for progress. One of your greatest achievements, one man, one vote, each vote of equal value. You, just like the British Labour Party, bringing the franchise to women, bringing the franchise beyond those who own property, to all men and women, a party that grew because of its concern for working men and women. And that change agent that you must be deeper and firmer and bolder than it has been previously. That is how you win elections, renew and go deeper. So now is the time to be bold and to grow the confidence of this community. This has been the most extraordinary first decade of the 21st century. These are tough times in which to steer any country and economy. Begun with September the 11th, we in London had the bombings in the July of 2005. Climate change dominating much of the landscape over this last period, and you will have seen the weather patterns, particularly actually affecting much of this region. And then we get this economic downturn. The only ray of sunshine, the election of my good friend Barack Obama in the United States of America. So these are tough times, as is so often the case at the beginning of a century. If you're being a bit more mystical about it, it's the age of Aquarius. And parties need to go with the flow. They need to understand that. They need to grip that and really dig deep. We came to power in 1997 with a mandate to renew public services, to devolve power in Britain, in the British context, back to Wales, to Scotland, a new government in London. We came to power with a desire to be strong in Europe and the world internationally, to renew our commitments particularly to the developing world. And we succeeded in all of that. Particularly in relation to public services. Our education system had been run into the ground. Our health service, you had to queue for months and years to get an operation. Our transport system was creaking. And we did all of it. But you know what? The electorate has a way of pocketing those things and looking for what's next. And as we continue to talk about public services, we should have said more about public spirit. As we continue to rely on the state and on supporting those who fell on hard times through welfare, we should have drawn on other parts of our tradition and talked more of self-reliance and self-help and community. Because you see, the Labour Party is a Labour Party for a reason. We are the party of work. We are the party of endeavour. And we understand that work builds character. That is why we as progressive Labour people will not stand by during tough economic times and leave people to the ravishes of the market as the right would. We believe in social programs and supporting people as best we can. That is the language that we lost sight of